Three more European countries have announced they will join the China-led Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, defying U.S. pressure not to do so. Last week, Washington slammed a similar move by London, saying it's concerned over, quote, the constant accommodation of China. Beijing, in turn, called the American reaction childish paranoia. Now, the institution will directly compete with the America-backed World Bank and the IMF. Member states receive loans for infrastructure projects, some of which would be unlikely to get support elsewhere. Let's bring in Dr. David Kuo, CEO of a Singapore-based consulting agency, joining us live here on RT International. Great to see you today. How much do you think of real competition can this Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank present to the established international lenders? There certainly seem to be some tremors reverberating out there.
Well, I certainly hope there is going to be competition, Rory, because you only have to come over here to Southeast Asia and you have a look, and then you will suddenly see there is a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. So therefore, when you have a look at the IMF and you have a look at the World Bank, and you can also sort of throw into the mix the Asian Development Bank as well, and you can say that, these three financial institutions aren't going to be able to cope with the amount of work that needs to be done. So it's actually sort of great news that China is going to sort of kickstart this thing called the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and it has the courage to actually do that in the face of complaints, from other people in the world, and to say that, more work needs to be done. We have the expertise to do it. So why don't we actually sort of go and do something for Asia?
But you talk about complaints coming in from various parts of the world. Are you talking about Washington? Because Washington's been the bullseye of the complaints coming from.
Well, that's right. And also, when you have a look at what is happening in America, they appear to be putting a little bit of pressure on some of its allies in Asia as well. And of course, Australia. And they're saying to these countries, don't join this Asian Infrastructure Bank. But, when you have a look at what is really sort of happening in Asia, you shouldn't really politicize something, like infrastructure. When you have a look at many of the countries here, people have a right to things like clean water, sanitation. They have a right to communication. They have a right to uninterrupted power. These are all part of the infrastructure projects, that many of the countries are crying out for. And, this is not being delivered at the moment by the World Bank and those other institutions that you mentioned, the IMF. So therefore, I think, that many of the countries here do need extra help, and this isn't really sort of coming right now. We can't afford to wait.
Well, David, it's very interesting how you say that infrastructure projects should not be politicised. For example, the UK was among the first to sign up to the new bank, while China has already invested very heavily in the UK, including a nuclear power plant and an airport as well. Do you think there's a connection?
Well, whether it's a connection or not, Rory, I think it's kind of irrelevant. If a country has expertise and they say that we're willing to share this expertise with you and make things better for you because either you haven't got the money to do it or either because you haven't got the expertise to do it, then why not? Why do we have to sort of bring in this political element all the time? I was recently in China, Rory, and I was having a look at China, comparing it today to 30 years ago when I first went to China. And you have a look at things like the airport, you have a look at things like the mass railway transport that they have, the high-speed trains, the water is now clean. So many of these things have improved so much in the 30 years. So when you have a look at a country like China that has actually done it, and then you think, what can they actually do now to try and help the countries in Southeast Asia and in Asia in particular? You think, yeah, just bring it on. Just give us whatever help you have. And also, all of these countries that join the Asian Infrastructure Bank, when they do join, they'll be bringing their expertise as well. We heard today that France, Germany, and Italy are actually sort of joined this Asian Infrastructure Bank as well. They have a lot of expertise. You have a look at the German engineering, the French engineering, the Italian engineering. They have a lot to offer. So therefore, if they can actually sort of bring that expertise as well, I think we people in Asia are actually sort of quite welcoming. We'll take whatever we can.
Dr. David Kuo, CEO of the consulting firm, The Motley Fool Singapore. Thanks so much for your insight on RT International.